Hello guys and welcome back to another video. This is my second video in my assembly language series where I am teaching you assembly language. So in the last episode we installed two packages, made a compiling script, and made our first basic program. So if I would be to open up the program, this is what we made in last video. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open in terminal and just show you what we did. And now if I run /tutorial.sh, it does nothing. That is a good thing because, as I explained in last video, we made a program that does nothing. Today's video, I will be showing you how to make a program that prints out a string of your choice. So, to get started, you will want to open up your tutorial.asm or whatever your assembly file is. And in the data section, you want to define two variables. I'm gonna quickly just set the tab with the 4. So you would first want to define your message. So I'm gonna type welcome db or define bytes, and then in single quotes, it's very important that they're in single quotes, type your message. So I'm just going to type welcome to MVR on YouTube. After that, you would want to type a comma and 0xa. That's just basically the same thing. So 0xa is the same thing as in most programming languages, \n. Print a new line, put another comma, type something here, but we're not going to be doing that. Next, you will want to define another variable, which is simply welcome lane. Because to print anything in assembly language, the function that you need to call to print it requires you to input the length of your message. So all you need to type is welcome length or whatever variable name you want, eq or equals, $, dash, and then your other variable with the string. If you have, let's say, multiple variables, so if let's say I copy this and have another variable here, then it's very important that this line is right after the actual definition of the variable. Otherwise, it will print the line twice, which is weird, but yeah. So just make sure that the length of the message is defined right after the actual message. What you want to do now is before your exit program, you would want to type this. So I'm just going to type, this is a comment as stated in last video. So print a string. So what you're going to type is MOV EDX, comma, welcome length, so the length of your message. So I didn't really go into detail what the MOV instruction does. Essentially, your CPU has registers, like physical memory segments on your CPU that can store data. So the MOV basic command basically sets the value of your register of choice, in this case EDX. There are a lot of registers, like EAX, for example, and MOV stands for move. So it just sets the value of EDX, comma, to whatever is here. So in this case, message length. Then you would want to type move, or MOV, ECX, comma, welcome, your actual message. Not the length of your message, but your actual message. Then you would type MOV, EBX, which is another register, 1, and finally MOV EAX, 4. Then you would want to type int 0x80. So this would just print your message, but I'm going to say what this does. So this just sets up parameters for a function, because certain functions require there are no parameters, so you just have to move registers around, and the function will read from those registers as if it was parameters. And this actually calls the function, actually calls the kernel So it's the same thing as typing systole, but I'm just going to call int 0x80. Int stands for interrupt, and an interrupt is basically something that makes the CPU stop what it's doing and run a piece of code. And 0x80 is just a piece of code to run. It's a kernel. It's the Ubuntu system kernel. So yeah. So now, if you would be to say that and run this, as you can see, it prints out our string. But let's say we want to print out another string. So all you would have to do is quite simply, you can copy this, paste it, and let's type, did I just type insert here? Okay, let's type info, and just replace all this with info. You can manually type this again. I usually manually type it just for this video. So let's say info, and then let's say sub like and just to show you that you can use extended AXI and subscribe. I know I spelled that incorrectly, but whatever. So now we can just duplicate this. So just Ctrl C, Ctrl V, that. Put that on a new line, and then we can just replace this message length with info length, and this was info. So if we save this and run it, as you can see, it prints it. But what will happen if you don't put this null terminator? Well, if I remove that here, it will work. But now, as you can see, it doesn't make a new line. But let's say we have 0xa here. You might be like, this is the last line of code. Why do you need a new line? Well, simple. If I would be to take this away, if you ever coded C, you'll probably know what happens. As you can see, it doesn't print a new line, so our prompt is on the same line as that. So yeah, that's essentially it. So yeah, that's why you need 0xa. So that's kind of it for this tutorial. But I will want to show you one more thing. Is there's defined byte, which defines. If I replace this with DW, will this work? I actually didn't test this before. Yep, it works. But now, because we're defining more data, we can completely abuse this. Just like that. Say that. And as you can see, we have multiple lines in one message. But if we would change this to GB and say that, now we're not defining as much storage. So it does still work, as you can see. But if you type enough, like a super long message, like longer than this, it will actually just not work at all. So that's just something to keep in mind when you are doing assembly. So you have to know these different data types. I made a whole video on these data types. There's a lot of them. So there's GB, there's DW. GB stands for defined bytes. DW stands for defined word, and DT stands for defined 10 bytes, essentially. But yeah, now that's definitely it for this tutorial. I hope you guys enjoyed, and see you guys next time. Bye.